having a frequency on the dial and a few watts to go with it. It's a great learning experience for the students at Chet. I'm coming into my, let's see, it will be 4th year in March for doing a weekly show here at WSHD LP.
Are you reeling in the years, stowing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine?
Started with WQEY in September of 1989, and I, quote, retired in December of 2016. I've been here at WSHD before because I painted this back in 1993 when I ran the station, when it was limited hours, mostly after school. We had a few adults involved. It was a much different operation then. We didn't have hard drives and other things. But the station has grown. There's a lot of community support for WSHD.
Is it true that WSHD is the only radio station in high school programs in Maine?
I believe it is. The last one was in Bath,
That's
Maine,
awesome.
and I don't think they wanted to run it anymore, and they turned the license in.
Wow.
So I believe we're the only one, unless, now, anything is possible. There could be others out there that I'm not aware of, but for the longest time, we've enjoyed being the easternmost radio station, commercial, non-commercial, in the USA, just because of where we are. So when we've had to, at some points, renew a license, like when I did that in the early 90s, when they would look at the lats and longs, they thought we were in Canada, but we're not. We're close, but we're not. We've got the LP, which is low power, but it's got more watts than the original 91.7. 38 watts, as a matter of fact, but we got the height because we're up on the hill.
So if somebody wanted to donate to the school to help underwrite this program, do they accept donations for that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
you can go to our website at wshd93.org, and we have a Donate Now button. And you can safely donate via PayPal, or you can send us a check. All the information's on our website. But yes, we absolutely welcome donations.
All right now, baby, it's all right now. All right now, baby, it's all right now.
And this is cool because, so it's based in a high school, but when I started off in radio, I was not an MIT student, but I was a community member who had an FCC permit that I could go on the air, run the transmitter and everything like that. So it was WMBR in Cambridge at 88.1, and then I was there from 1979 to 1989 when I moved to Maine. And then when I got here, I was working at QDY. So, I mean, I've been around for a while. I love it all. Stuff I remember when I started in radio, and then my sister had, when I was growing up, all of the oldies from back then. They weren't oldies then, they were new songs. And then just, going through the British invasion era. Some tunes I might play, we probably played when they were brand new. Hey, make it or break it here on WQDY.
Tom, what took you into radio?
My mom used to sing on the radio in Boston back in the 30s.
Huh.
And so she always would, when I would listen to radio, we would listen and she would explain what was going on because she had seen it on the inside. When you're listening and you don't know, you have you imagine what's going on, but you really don't know. So she would tell me that stuff was either on tape, it was on record, it was either live or it was recorded, and what they were doing and what would happen here and there. So I was getting the nuts and bolts of how things work. I just, I used to listen to a station out of Boston, WMEX at 1510, big rock and roll station, and I just got to be a fan of those guys, and then some of the other stations in Boston, and a few other places I was lucky enough to meet people and then get even more of an in-depth look at what's it all about, how does it work? How does it get from here to the transmitter? How does it get from here to your radio? That was, the cool thing. I just got into it that way, and, my first foot in the door, it's called Do Anything. Was answering the listener line, WBCN, back in 1977, for this guy, Walter DeVenny, who goes by the name Little Walter. He used to do an oldies show, and he worked for several stations in the Boston area. People would call in requests or dedications or stuff like that, and it was a blast. We'd run contests and, clear out all the phone lines, and then, first 3 callers, bang, bang, bang.
So you mentioned that technology has changed over the years, but has radio really changed?
A lot of stations sort of are cookie cutters. They're just the same. You turn across the dial and it almost sounds the same, just for whatever reason. And there's some things that have changed in that way. The technical end of it is, I've been fortunate. I know a lot of people in broadcasting, and it's funny. Some of the guys that I used to listen to that sort of like would mentor me in one way or another. There's any number of guys that are, so that I've kept in touch with on Facebook, because that's the easiest way to, get a message to somebody. Hey, what was this when what song was this? I just can't remember, but I can remember the label. It's like some old crazy song that I would play, and people in Radioland would say, what is he doing now?
The landlord rang my front door bell. I let it ring for a long, long spell. I went to the window, I peeped through the blind, and I asked him to tell me what was on his mind. He said, money, honey.
Well, not to ask you to give away a trade secret, but when I'm listening to you on the radio, I'm amazed at the knowledge you have about the songs you're playing. So I assume that you're doing a lot of research, that, for the 3 hours you're on the radio, you're probably doing 6 hours of research. You do a lot of research?
I do some research, and a lot of it is in my head. It's from years of being around it. When I was growing up, my sister brought all these records home. So it's like when I get into that time of like record collecting, and somebody would say, well, this is an original release of this song. And I said, no, it's not. Look at the label and say, nah, that's either a bootleg or it's something else, but it's not the original, because I remembered, what the original was that my sister Jane brought home. And
being a person who's come into this area from somewhere else, SHD was like a sound of oh gosh, I don't know how to describe it. The words aren't there. It was just this pearl in the oyster of finding that radio station, and then in the time of COVID, it's been what saved me. And so you can be assured that a donation's coming from this guy for SHD, because you guys have enabled me to survive for 6 months that probably I would have gone crazy trying to find some way of maintaining my equilibrium.
Well,
so thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, we play stuff that's like, sometimes the segues, if it's just on the computer, it goes by and it's like, we might go from Bing Crosby to, to Steppenwolf. Who knows? It's just a crazy mix. And then we have the live DJs, who come on and do a show, and they bring their particular, mix to a show, themed however, it is, however, whatever is going on. It's a lot of fun. I think I'm the only one that's been involved in broadcasting, though, for too long.
Yeah. Well, thank you to you, because it is that DJ, you and the others, who bring a personality to the station. And that personality, it's not the same for every DJ, and that's what makes it so great. And you're informative. I learn something from you every time I listen to your show.
Yeah, I try to knock in some stuff there that's, this is who this was or whatever, and it's just, it's fun. But a lot of that stuff, if I didn't know it from growing up with some of it, I learned it from some of the DJs that I worked with 40 years ago in Boston, like Little Walter and and just chasing after oldies and going. My Saturday afternoon used to be hitting all of the record stores around the greater Boston area, searching for 45s and LPs of oldies, cutouts, you name it, anything like that. Because CDs they weren't available at that moment, but they were eventually. But so I had a huge collection of vinyl, and it's like, no, look, we came out with CDs now.
And now vinyl's back, right?
And vinyl's back, yeah. But towards the end there, some of the records were not the best, the best pressings or whatever. And I think when it came out, I Hear You Knocking by Dave Edmunds, every 45 I ever ran into sounded like the levels were so hot right through the roof. You couldn't turn it down enough. It always sounded like it was blasting. It was just, for whatever reason, they wanted it to sound that way, I guess, but it really didn't sound that good. But still a good song. Yeah, I just, lucked into it, and stuff that I remember, it's stuff that I can tie something in with. And I'm pretty much on my show, I do 50s and 60s rock and roll. And sometimes I'll go back a little bit, sometimes I go forward a little bit. It's Rock and Roll Saturday Night. That was probably 2001 to maybe 2009 Saturday nights, when I didn't get booted off by a Red Sox game.
So when it's not a live DJ, does somebody program the computer to pick certain eras?
It shuffles the mix of what's in there. Some hours can be programmed to what they need to be, and they are. And Robert Sanchez runs the station, and he does that. He takes care of all of that. Plus making sure that some of the shows that replay get uploaded to where they need to be, so that they show up when they're supposed to.
So we were just speaking with Joan Loudon, and her show precedes yours.
Yes.
So then, as her show ends and yours starts up, do you have a little bit of leeway to do your own intro, or does she program some songs that kind of allow a transition to your show?
No, it just goes back to, she pretty much, what we do is just take in the main computer, plug in our own laptops, and just, when the time comes up to, say, 5 o'clock, which I got 4 minutes to go, we just
kick it in.
We just fade down the main computer and go on with our programming, whatever it happens to be. So that's what's in here. So if she wasn't doing a show, it would still play. There would be something on the air, something there anyway. So.
But it and not being a professional in this industry, but it seems to me that many times the songs that lead in are almost like it was programmed to be into that sort of category, allowing the transition.
Yeah, sometimes.
It's well done.
Sometimes, and then just before 5 o'clock, it'll start a 6-minute song. It's like, sorry, I gotta turn it down, because I'm not waiting 6 minutes. It's the way it goes sometimes. But
so, do you work with the high school students?
No, not. I used to. It's different now. There's actually a class for this, and Robert Sanchez runs that. And our student DJs are terrific. They got it. They got the right feel for what they're doing, and they all sound good. I mean, really good. Considering. I mean, we're it's not it's showbiz, and it's also learning. It's not as hands-on as it used to be when we had turntables and all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's not easy to cue up a cassette tape. It's almost impossible, but they used to figure it out.
So it must be neat for you as a person who's been in this field for a while to hear a student and think, hey, that's a person that's got it. That's a person who could really do something.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
this.
they got good delivery. Of course, for the class, they have to have a proposal. This is what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm not going to come in here and do nothing. And they just sort of come in and they got the magic and they make it work. And what happens? It sounds great on the air. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
So considering what we have, which is just having a frequency on the dial, and a few watts to go with it. It's a great learning experience for the students, and you know, we've got a few community members that take part in it too, and it's giving this old guy a place to go for a little bit.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Well, thank you, thank you.
And I suppose we should let you go to work.
WSHDLP in Eastport, Maine. 93.3 FM, a broadcast service of Shed High School. At the Electric Doghouse. Coming up next.
What we're gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
Broadcasting from the city in the bay. WSHDLP, Eastport, Maine.
So my show is, I'm known as the bass lady. I got that moniker when I started playing stand-up bass 15 years ago. And I play jazz, and jazz is my interest. And so my show is called Jazz with the Bass Lady. And I'm on every Wednesday afternoon before Tom comes in. And I do a whole range of, I have different themes every week. So it could be female singers, it could be gypsy jazz, it could be New Orleans. Kind of runs the gamut, and love doing the show. I think I've been here 2 years now, and really enjoy being able to do community radio. It's something I've never done before, so moving to Eastport gives you all these wacko opportunities that you don't,
And
you
for
don't get.
people who've missed your show live, they can find it in an archive where?
Well, I usually put a few weeks of my show on basslady.com/radio.
Nice. I called it the Electric Doghouse, and it ran in between Casey's American Top 40 and Keeping the 70s Alive.
Huh.
And it was about, it wasn't very long, but I did kind of what I'm doing now.
Huh.
So, and Electric Doghouse I stole from the MIT non-commercial station. It used to be Ralph's Electric Doghouse. But anyway, I can talk to you. Hello, rock and rollers. Welcome to another edition of the Electric Doghouse. I'm Tom McLaughlin, the Firedog, the Electric Dog. Tonight, gotta remember some of the music of Rich Nelson. He was killed in a plane crash.